And once I started playing, it was a lot of fun. But up until that point, I just didn't give a shit about the game. Could not give a. I didn't care how well acclaimed it was. I didn't care.
And this is what, Skyrim?
Yeah, I didn't care how much that game was in people's good graces. And to a capacity, I still don't give a fuck about Skyrim.
Really?
Yeah. Bethesda just never really hit it all that well for me. I didn't connect with Bethesda games like that. I do like, yeah, if I really sit down and get into them, that's one thing, because I did play Fallout 3, and I had a great time with Fallout 3.
You liked Fallout 3, but you didn't like Skyrim.
I wouldn't say I hate Skyrim. It's just,
Well, yeah, but it
very, like, 6 or 7 out of 10. Like, fine game. I would play it.
Damn.
I'm the weirdest game critic I know. I started breakdancing there for a second. I didn't know Crash did that. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm the only one with that opinion of Skyrim that I know, because everyone else that I've talked to is wildly in love with Skyrim, and Skyrim is their life. And yeah.
I think Skyrim is a great game, in my opinion.
You're wrong. No.
I'm not really huge into fantasy. So when I first played it, the idea, I thought it was gonna suck because I'd never heard of Elder Scrolls when I was a kid. Like, I had friends tell me about Skyrim when it first came out, and I was like, I've never even heard of these games. I was like, this game probably sucks. Like, plus I was like, it's a fantasy game. I'm not really into fantasy. And then eventually I got it for like $10 or something on the PS3, and it was like the Legendary Edition or whatever, and I got hooked immediately. I think the music is amazing in it. I think the music's really good. There's a weird kind of atmosphere to that game that I really dug. And plus the RPG elements are really cool. I think the world building is really cool. I personally like Fallout more than the Elder Scrolls games. That might be a hot take, but I do like the Fallout games. I'm more into sci-fi kind of shit though than I am fantasy. So like, I like the weird laser guns and shit like that, which is another reason why I think I'm gonna really like Starfield, is because it's like the ultimate game for me. I'm huge into space exploration and stuff. Like, I love that kind of sci-fi. So if you're gonna give me a Bethesda style game where I explore planets, that sounds fucking incredible to me. That's why if this game turns out to be shit,
why am I getting hit? Go for it.
Oh, you're good. You have to, with them, you have to jump over them. Wait till they stand still.
I guess I was just delaying it too much.
No, you're good. But so if they don't hit it out of the park with this game, that's why I'm not going to have that much interest in Elder Scrolls 6, is because I'm sure, you know, like, not that I don't think, I think Elder Scrolls 5 was good and I liked it a lot, but the game I really want from a developer like that is Starfield. So why would I, if it's Starfield shit, I'm not going to have any faith in the next game being good. Like,
so I'm just contradicting myself up, down, left, right, and center right now, because if they didn't get around to another Skyrim or a newer version of Skyrim or whatever you want to call it, I would be more interested in that than Starfield, because I actually do like fantasy quite a bit. It's just, I feel as if Skyrim feels as if it's a product of its time, and it feels, and this might be very contrarian to say, but it feels very dated. There's elements of it that still feel strong and still feel like they hold up somewhat decent, because mechanically it has everything I like. It has like crazy swords with like powers and imbuing stuff with elements and crazy enemies and environments and everything like that, but just, I don't know if it's the way it's delivered to me. I don't know what it is about Skyrim that just doesn't hook me as much as it hooks everyone else. Maybe it's because I got into it later, possibly, I don't know.
That's like the second game I've heard from you now where you're like, this game is one of the most popular games ever made and I don't like it.
I'm a hipster.
You don't like Minecraft, which is fucking crazy to
Fuck
me.
Minecraft. No, I'm very indifferent towards Minecraft.
No, I feel you. I was just teasing you a little bit. I actually learned recently that, did you know that Minecraft has the #1 player base out of every video game?
I could believe it.
I fucked up.
Luckily on these you don't lose lives.
Which I thought it would have been Fortnite, to be honest with you. So I thought that was interesting.
Man, I I don't know what it is with me because I don't really know what distinguishes like why I don't like these popular games.
I mean, oh, fuck.
Like everyone's entitled to their taste, but I don't know what's preventing me from
It's okay. I'll let you off the hook a little bit because there's a game that everybody loves that I hate. Or I wouldn't say I hate. It
it
doesn't grab me.
doesn't
Every
do
time
for
I've
you.
tried it, I've just like, I don't get this game, or like I don't understand why it's so popular.
lay it on me.
Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh yeah, I could give less of a fuck about Siege.
I know a lot of people love that game though. It never grabbed me, which is crazy because I love military shooters.
Nice, dude.
And
Tack shooters.
yeah, like I like games like that. Like I like Escape from Tarkov.
Here's the thing, for me, like Siege is fine. Like I can have a good time playing it, but yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where I could never see myself getting wildly addicted to that game.
It never felt satisfying doing something in the game. That's what I think always turned me off from the games, because they'd be like, Cody, you actually did pretty good that round. And like, it was like, oh, you killed like 3 people out of the 5 members of that team. But I was like, it didn't feel like I did anything. Like, it felt like, I don't know. I'd be like, oh, I am like, I don't know. I don't like a game where shit, this is going to be controversial, but at least Call of Duty, when you kill someone, you feel like you fucking killed somebody. Like,
All right, save before we get into the ripperoo, because you got this, buddy.
so I don't know, like, and Call of Duty has tons of problems, but I would much rather play Call of Duty than Rainbow Six Siege.
Kind of on that same line, and I know you like this game more than I do, even if it's just a bit, but Overwatch. Didn't give a fuck about Overwatch 1. Don't really care. I gave 0 fucks about Overwatch 2. I played it just because friends wanted me to play. It's a fine game. Like, I had fun playing it, but I just didn't care. I didn't care anymore. This is where Cody needs all of his focus.
I'm listening to you. Fuck.
No.
I do actually need to focus.
No, I get it. You're good. I know people swear up and down by Overwatch. That's like such a fun.
Overwatch is fun. I mean, I don't mind it. I'm not crazy about it or anything like that. Like, I think it's.
Why did that TNT not go off? Oh, it did go off. Just didn't see it count.
I'm trying to do my strat here and see if this is gonna work.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Cody's the greatest ripperoo.
Dude, fuck this boss, dude.
He's pretty annoying. You were killing it the last time you did it, though.
Because I thought I found out the secret, but maybe it's. It's funny that you don't like Overwatch, but you like Valorant.
Yeah, because it resembles Counter-Strike more in my mind than it does Overwatch. And I like Counter-Strike. I used to play a lot of Counter-Strike.
I like Counter-Strike as well.
I don't like Counter-Strike as much as I used to. If there is a shooter that I'm going to play, it is going to be Valorant.
I was gonna say I actually really like Valorant. I just haven't played it in a while.
Yeah,
But
it's been a minute. I used to be wildly in love with League of Legends for a while. And then something snapped, something inside of me. The sleeper has awoken. Insert Vegeta quote.
That's right, boys. Mondo cool.
I fell out of love with League of Legends because I hated the idea of, at points, it not mattering how good I was performing, that my team could throw the entire game away from me no matter what I did. And that's when I very much took on my fighting game crusade. Nice, dude. Good shit. Way to go. Because in fighting games, you have a true sense of ownership with everything that you do, from your character and like their personality and how good you are and proficient you are with that character, but the way you most directly interact with your opponent. You get a bit of that in League of Legends in laning phase, but everything after that, it goes out the window. It is probably the most intimate gaming experience that you could have in a fighting game, in my opinion.
okay.
Yeah, and then fighting games was attached to an IP I already loved with Dragon Ball FighterZ, and then which I tried to get into fighting games before, or I guess a friend of mine tried to get me into fighting games. Vince, he was super adamant about getting me into Street Fighter. It didn't really click at the time.
How did we do this last time?
I just jumped around. I just did a. There you go. And then you could just jump over. Yeah, at the time Street Fighter 4 was out, which is a very good game, but it's very complex, and you have to have more than a fundamental. Well, not. You have to have more than zero understanding of how to play a fighting game. You can't just mash in Street Fighter 4.
Sure.
So at the time it didn't click. Bradley's brain didn't quite understand the functions of how fighting games worked at the time. Dragon Ball FighterZ was my gateway drug, and it was just easy enough to get into, but complex enough to not be boring.
Sure.
And then, yeah, that was the gateway drug that got me into fighting games. And I make everything that I talk about in the fighting games because I'm narcissistic or something.
You know, I think another thing, kind of just doubling back, because you made me think about it, like just talking about different genres of games. Kind of doubling back to like innovation in games and things kind of like blowing your mind when you play them. I think another part of that isn't just the graphics, but there's not that much innovation in gameplay itself. It feels like a lot of games are copying and pasting exactly how other games play.
That's very much a lot how I feel about Bethesda.
Like think of like Destiny and The Division, like or any
Sure.
like any third-person shooter is just copying what Gears of War did.
Well, and then Call of Duty on top of that too.
Yeah, Call of Duty is the same. Like Battlefield, even a game that I like, Valorant, is just copying pasting two different games together. Like,
Yeah,
I'm fucking dumb.
I mean, Valorant. I was not kidding when I say Valorant feels like Counter-Strike, but with like a touch of Overwatch abilities. And as more new champions come out, new characters come out, it gets even more into the Overwatch territory because you know, they develop newer and crazier characters with crazier abilities to make them feel unique but the original cast, the abilities were quite tame before. They weren't as like crazy and over the top, so you get a sense of power creep as well with each new character that comes out because they do crazier shit. Excuse me, coming through.
I think that's why like the Resident Evil games still kind of resonate with me. Kind of going, like, talking about games that have their own kind of, because it's its own genre.
Oh, you have to jump on those, huh?
You know, the Resident Evil kind of invented survival horror games. You know, the first one. I mean, you could say that Alone in the Dark, the original one, was the first real survival horror game, but in the sense of like having a gun and there's enemies and you have to like check your ammo and like they kind of started that genre, you know? And it just, in some aspects, Resident Evil 4 Remake, for example, feels like other third-person shooters. And then in other aspects, it feels like a kind of unique experience, different from even the other Resident Evil games. And, you know, like even like Jedi Survivor, I really like that game, and I think it's really fun. And I think they take the best elements of other games and made it and put it together into that game. It's still a game that follows the backbone of Dark Souls or the platforming backbone of Uncharted.
Sure.
And, you know, and I just think you don't really see games like kind of coming up with its own type of game anymore. You know what I mean?
I like your pull of Resident Evil because... Oh, my God.
Oh, you're good. You're still alive.
With Resident Evil, like Resident Evil is a mechanically very simple game, but it feels so distinct from anything else. Like whether it's the original or the remake or whatever, games feel like Resident Evil. Resident Evil doesn't feel like other games.
Straight up. Good way to put it.
Like that's how I felt about the Evil Within. Like Evil Within is like, oh yeah, it's like a very much weirder like Resident Evil. Resident Evil cultivated the mechanics. I kind of feel a lot in that sentiment of like the Arkham combat because I love the Arkham combat. I'm
we
a
talked about that on
big fan of it, but it's copy and pasted everywhere where I'm tired of talking about it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say we talked about that a little bit on our video of playing Arkham, which you guys should go check out. But like how that was their Rocksteady's first game, and they hit it out of the park with that fighting combat.
Just crushed it.
And it was so unique, and I'd never played a game like it. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like developers are taking risks like that anymore to make interesting new types of games. Like, honestly, hot take, I think the last set of games to kind of invent its own style of video game is the Soulsborne games. I really think those are the last type of games to be so uniquely their own thing that every other game is just a Soulsborne type game. I don't think there's been a game series that has come out since then that has really done like something that's so different than everything else. Like maybe I don't know, maybe battle royales were the last thing to be that.
Well, now I'm curious.
You know what I mean?
Because,
you get what I'm saying though, right? Like in just terms of just
innovation of like making
of games, like of the gameplay itself, the fundamental mechanics of the game.
So I agree, but also I don't know if there's anything predating a Souls game that was similar, that made a Souls game feel like that was inspired the Souls games playstyle. Could be, not.
I don't think so.
What the fuck, man? I suck. Yeah, it is a case much like Resident Evil where I'm just like, well, you know, games feels like Soulsborne games. Soulsbornes don't feel like other games.
Sure.
What the fuck? Dude, we were playing so much better the first time we played.
We really were. I don't know how.
So I'm kind of half and half a little bit. Nice. I didn't even think about doing that. That was smart. Because we've gotten to the point, and I've talked about original Resident Evil 4, something akin to this, where just keep going. The control schemes that we have now, I like the control scheme layout of the games that we have. So if it is like an Arkham, like I like the Arkham-ish control layout. If it is a shooter, like let's say I'm playing a shooter on control, I like the way that the buttons are mapped out.
It's one of those cases, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
kind of
but also you kind of lead into a place of stagnation as far as development is concerned. So
right, and I agree with you. I think I meant it more as like from the perspective of the developer. They're like, it's working, so let's not change how the controls are or how the game plays. Like, which is laziness. You know,
you almost have to come up with something that is an entirely new mechanic to differentiate from like a control scheme. So like let's say a Souls-like game comes out, instead of a dodge button there's just something completely different. Sekiro in an essence is kind of that, because you're not like, you have a roll, you have a dodge in that game, but you're not focused around your dodge. Your dodge isn't what's important. It's more important to focus on your stance, and then tied to your stance at like actually working on parrying things, because managing your stance, your posture meter is very important. If you neglect your posture meter, your opponent is going to be able to get a critical strike on you, and it works the other way around as well, where if you are fucking up your opponent's posture, you'll be able to get a critical strike on them before their health bar is depleted. And it essentially, it plays like a Souls game, kind of, but it does enough of a job to differentiate where the games feel entirely different.
There's a game I've been wanting to try that I haven't gotten around to playing. Is called Sifu.
Oh, yeah.
I really want to try it because everything I've looked up on it, it actually looks like a game it looks like a game I haven't played before. It looks like a type of game I haven't played before. And I think that's kind of what, like, I'm sure other people my age probably feel the same way, you know, who've played a lot of video games throughout their life, you know, like, they're probably like, I want to play something new. Because if you grew up in the generation that you and I did, that every video game was different from each other. You know what I mean? Like, you never knew what type of game you were going to play. Like,
yeah, I agree.
It's just, I just feel like there's a lack of that in today's generation of video games. Like,
is, I want to say, tied to hardware constraints, because it's not as if you can develop a Dark Souls for the PS2. You can't develop a Dark Souls for the PS2 or the PS1, and if you try to, it's going to be radically different from what Dark Souls is.
Sure, but I mean, yes and no on the console limitations. I think you can still innovate with what you have.
Absolutely.
You know, like developers that did that on the PS2, the first that comes to my mind is Hideo Kojima. I mean, if you play a Metal Gear Solid 1, that game, in my opinion, still holds up today because he used the PlayStation to its full capabilities and demanded the player to think outside the box on a lot of bosses and puzzles, and I think that's genius, and I think that's why he's such an important figure in video games. It's because there's no other developer that has the balls to try new things out like he does. You know what I mean? Like, for everything that you say, people can say about Death Stranding, and you know, you could say it's a walking sim. I still want to play it because it's not like anything I've ever played before, and that's what I think I want. Is I want games that are different and that aren't like an open world shooter, or you know, I want something that's different that I've never played before. And
Totally.
so I think that's why I'll eventually go around to playing Death Stranding, even though people either love or hate that game, is because I think developers need to be taking more risks like that. You know what I mean? Like,
So the problem we're running into right now is something akin to my problem with Minecraft. Because you have so many options open to you, you don't know what to do with them all. You're more creative with limitations than you are in Woo!
nice.
You're
Good
more
job, dude.
you're more creative to work around limitations than you are to like when you have everything in front of you. Like when you
sure.
have everything in front of you, like you don't know what to do with yourself almost. Within confines, you're like, oh well, like what's I want to do this. What's a interesting way that I can work around my problems to actually get there?
Sure. And but so I see that from the perspective of the player. But if we're looking at it objectively outside, like from a bird's eye view of the industry, I think that's the reason why I love Minecraft, is because it's so different from every other game that has come out. You know what I mean? Like, I can see why some people who play it as the player feel like almost like restrained, is because there's so much freedom to the game to where they don't know what to do. Like, I completely understand that. I think from like a development standpoint though, like, it's a genius game because no one really made a game like that before. You're essentially making like a world of like Legos essentially, and the player's able to create and do whatever they want. Every game that's like that since is like Minecraft. It's like, oh, it's like Minecraft. You can build like Minecraft, or you get what I mean?
I do, and I hate it because I hate the likes. I hate the oh yeah, it's like Minecraft. I'm just like, oh yep, you lost me.
Yeah, and I get that, and I hate that too. I think what I'm trying to say is I want a game that starts the new trend of it's like this.
Sure.
We don't have any games that are just like its own like thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
like,
and
even God of War. I love the new God of War games, but oh yeah, it's kind of like a Dark Souls combat. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, the game's incredible, don't get me wrong, for its story and whatnot, but it doesn't really innovate in terms of gameplay.